Hello and welcome back to SpiderGrinding. So in this video I'm continuing to work on comparing Tit to normal V2. So I am currently at kill count 2,400 and in 100 more kills I will have completed everything I want to do at Tit for now. So I'll have hit the 2,500 I want to hit before I move on to normal V2, and I'll have completed that last 500 that I want to compare all the loot I get from to what I get from 500 normal V2 and see which one's really better and when is it worth doing normal V2 instead of normal Tit. So at the moment I'm also just leveling my Archdrift Band and my Archdrift Teld in Zala, so they're only level 16 right now. I'm eventually going to work those up to 21, but this is going to be a very long grind with those. And not sure what else will happen in this video, maybe do some hard Ivra, stuff like that, but let me give you a quick recap of where my gear is at right now. I do have the weekly buff here, so this gives me the additional 60 knowledge and power, as well as 5% ranged hit, magic damage, double attack, and crit. So that will affect my stats as stated there. But things are coming along. I'm looking forward to getting this Band and Teld up to 21 because I do really need as much crit and double attack as I can get. Those are quite low right now because I do not have Worm. And yeah, overall things are going pretty well though. Tits are usually taking 3.5 to 4.5 minutes. Room for improvement there, but I think I'm getting to the point where V2 might be becoming viable, so I'm looking forward to giving it a try after this next 100 Tits and seeing just how fast it goes. Give me a one, please. That's all I want. Or a Magni Band would be pretty okay too. Would not complain about a Worm or a Magni Band or even a Magni alone, but Magni Band would be really cool. Why don't you just give me both easy drops? Oh, alrighty, a Splinteroonie. Not a bad orb, and that is on. It's actually a fun number here. I know this one's coming up. 2444. I mean, it's not all the same number, but hey, 3 4s at the end, still kind of fun. Alright, so with the by Kuet that I dropped in the Splinters list, I can do a Yola merge, and that's not great, but at least it's not penetrate homes, so I'll take it. Ooh, alrighty, let's see what we got here. 130 shards is something, and we're almost at the 2,500 mark. This is, yeah, 4 more to go. Let's see if we can get another drop in that time. Here we are at 2,499, about to get this kill number 2,500. So it's been 12 videos since I embarked on this journey to reach 2,500 normal Tit kills. There's been an insane amount of progress since then. Honestly, it's there's been so many surprises that I had no idea would be coming during this time, and I'm looking forward to showing what these 2,500 runs have got me, as well as looking into the specific last 500 runs that I've been taking a look at more closely, calculating the gold and everything and tracks, and getting a feel for what the average Tit run is providing. So let's run down to Garrison and sell off this last batch of white items to the vendor, see what my total gold tally is, and talk about everything that we've done so far. So, alright, let's see. So, one thing to note is whenever I am talking about what I got out of this, I'm not counting any synergetic rings or offhands I dropped. Those just don't factor in at all. And other than rings and offhands, any synergetic that's level 50 or under, I'm just selling to the vendors. So I keep 60s and 70s to merge up to 80s, but I'm just selling the 30s, 40s, 50s. So let's see. Got 160 in that set of runs. All right. So I'm gonna quickly put this batch of runs into my document, and then I will show you where it's at and what these last 500 runs have done for me. Okay, so 3 subdrifts. Okay. Yeah, so let me drag this sheet over. Okay, so at the top here, I have the complete total. So every time my inventory filled up or every time I swapped to do some other content, I would come into Garrison, sell any of the whites or low-level synergetics to the vendor, and then note down everything I got. So this top row is the whole total sum. Everything under this blue line is just all the batches. So no particular organization there. That's just, that could be any number of runs. So you can see there's some that are like larger runs where I get 1 or 2 million gold out of it, and some that are shorter where it's like 100, 200, 300,000. But the important thing is these top 2 rows, which is the grand totals for the whole 500 runs, and then I also did some calculations for drop rate. So the drop rate kind of information is more interesting. So here, the average run was 46,416 gold. So in this 500 runs, I got 23 million gold, and this is what it averaged out to. So about 50,000 gold, 50,000 gold per run. This was without any gold orb, so you could have more if you have gold orb, but that's what I was getting. TIT itself seemed to give around 40,000 per run. So the gold orb would affect that, and then some extra gold came from the whites and synergetics that were sold. And then tracks. So I got, on average, 1.2 tracks of fright per run. So that's not too bad, right? 600 tracks in 500 runs. I'm pretty sure V2 is way better than that, though, like at least twice as good as that. I have no idea how good V2 is for gold, actually. So I'm very curious to see that, because V2 doesn't drop any gold itself, but it does drop more white items, I think. And I think it also drops more synergetics. So that's going to be interesting to look at. But yeah, so the track's 1.2 per run. Respectable. It's a good track farm, but I think V2 is better. And then, okay, so these two, the gold and the tracks, I was calculating the amount per run. Now, the other things are more rare, so I'm calculating drop rate. So when you see this 4.347 here, that means in 1 out of 4.347 runs, you get 1 journeyman glyph. So on average, it takes just over 4 runs to get a journeyman glyph. And, that's not bad, right? Like, you don't use that many journeyman glyphs, or at least I don't use that many journeyman glyphs. You'd have to be buying a lot of Droggle crystals, like really like pay to winning to do Droggle or something, to need more than that. If you're doing Mahet, it mostly pays for itself even after they nerfed it. So yeah, that's a pretty decent amount. It's a good journeyman glyph farm. 60 reds and 70. These were actually really rare. These were more rare than I expected. So good synergetics, like synergetics that I would want to merge up to 80s and shatter. So those 60s and 70s were quite infrequent. So 1 in 35, 1 in 36 for 60 reds, and then 1 in 166, 1 in 167 for 70 reds. Like, I only got 3 in that 500 runs. That is really surprising. I did think it was more common. It may be that after they adjusted the drops, reduced like the journeyman glyph drop rate, that they also played around with the synergetic drop rate, because I feel like it was a bit more common before. I might just be crazy. All these 500 runs were done after they updated the journeyman glyph update, so there should have been no changes to TIT's drop rates during the period that I was working on this. Okay, so subdrifts were 1 in 11 runs, give or take, so got 45 out of the 500. And bydrifts were 1 in 41, 42. So, pretty infrequent. The subdrifts, if you're getting them for essence, it adds up nicely. If you're trying to use TIT to get drifts as, drifts that you need, and you're going to be building up Magni drifts, Arch drifts, TIT does not seem good at all. I didn't drop a single Magni drift in 500 runs. I don't know exactly how many I dropped over the whole 2,500, but I feel like it's maybe 3 or 4. Might be closer to 3. It was really, really infrequent. So, yeah, TIT is really not that good for drifts, I don't think. I think V2 has the potential to beat TIT here by a decent margin, but we'll see. So yeah, that was my 500 runs. So I'm going to keep this data. I'm going to get the same data for V2. And I'm going to be very curious to see how they compare. Now, another thing for TIT, just looking back over the entire 2,500 runs, I've been taking note of every single blue drop I get, and since the 28th drop, I've been tracking the incrustation level and the orb that I receive as well. So yeah, so I graphed it here. The drops were actually pretty consistent. So this is the number of runs done, and then the y-axis is the number of drops. So it's a pretty consistent line of just getting more drops every so often. My overall drop rate ended up being, well, what is it? So I got 72 drops. So I did 2,500 runs. So the drop rate was 1 in 34.7222, which seems pretty decent. I've seen people with worse drop rate than this. I've seen people with drop rates closer to 1 in 40. 1 in 40 might be the actual drop rate. I might have got lucky, or maybe the drop rate's like 1 in 35. I don't know. But it's somewhere in that range, like probably in the range of 1 in 34 to 1 in 42. I might be on the lucky end. But when you do this many runs, this is a pretty big sample size. So I wouldn't expect it to be too far off of this. Yeah, and so you can see like here, like the drop rate, it's really crazy at first. Like every drop just skews the drop rate a lot, so it's going up and down a lot. But then it really steadies out over time. And okay, and if I look at the incrustation levels of what I was dropping. So, okay, so how many rows is this? This is from drop 28 to drop 72. So that is, like 44 drops? Yeah, I think so. So 44 drops recorded. And there's one S1 here. Yeah, just one S1 drop. I do recall I had a couple of S1, or I think they were S1. But silver drops. I had 2 or 3 silver drops before that in the early runs. So this might have been unlucky, or maybe I was just really lucky back then. I'm not sure. But yeah, the silver drop rate seems pretty low. But looking at the rest, the B1 versus B2 versus B3, it might be skewed towards the lower levels. But it's hard to say if there's enough data for that. Sub versus bi orb, it seems to be pretty even. And then there's too many orb types to really gather any info about that. Excuse me. So yeah. 72 drops and 2,500 runs was not bad at all. Got a lot of shards out of this. Got a lot of tracks out of it. It's been a good grind. I've enjoyed this, but I'm looking forward now to getting into V2. So currently my kill count in V2 is 114. So by the time I get to 614, I'm going to have the information I need to compare V2 to TIT. And that's going to be the focus of the rest of this sub-series, I guess. So I do have a bunch of tracks that I would like to use on Hard Iver right now, so I might do that first before getting into V2. Or I might intersperse them, do a mix of both. But either way, I'm ready to get started on V2. I'm leaving TIT behind for now. Might do some TIT every now and then, just for, you know, weekly key tasks or dailies, if it's, you know, an easy Demorthor boss to do for the dailies, stuff like that. So you may see more content from TIT, but I'm no longer focused on it. I'm no longer tracking it. I no longer have a goal with TIT right now. I am just focused on tabulating those first 500 V2 runs, and you know, I've hit the 2,500 TIT I said I would be targeting before doing normal V2 back in episode 8. So I guess I'm living up to my promise of doing 2,500 TIT and then moving on to V2. Whether or not I stay with V2 will depend on how fast the runs are and how much better V2 is, and that's going to purely come from seeing what I get out of those 500 runs. So yeah, let's get right into it. We're already off to a pretty good start with these V2s, honestly. Subferret is not bad. It's not bad at all. Ooh. Off to a good start. Haven't done that many runs yet. They need to fix this, man. Okay, well, I can see from the res that's a B1, but that's a nice Biorb. And this is only... So I started out at kill count 114 on this journey of 500. And this is only kill count 122, so pretty lucky so far. That Alorn that was dropped, of course, needs to be YOLO tier, so let's do that now. Unlucky. Okay, so with the acquisition of that Heartrim, I think I should be able to come up with enough shards to G1 my cloak. So let me see, let me just extract that orb first. Okay. I was going to save this Vogarun, but it's, you know, it's 50% durability. Probably could sell it for a bit more than shard value, but I just kind of want the shards right now, so that's fine. And I'm going to shatter my old double attack 110 belt. This will be missed. I struggled for a while to get Marana belt, and this was very useful, but right now it's going to be more useful as shards, so rest in peace, my old friend. Rest in peace. But yeah, that gives me enough shards, so let's grab my other shards from my depot here. Very nice. Alright. Let's see. Troll Shadow. Alright, we'll pray for a little asymmetry, getting more fire res than energy res. And where is incrustation? Alright. Nice. Okay, so yeah, I got 2 more fire res, no more energy res. That is ideal. 9 more power from that, 1 more knowledge. This is very nice. So, yeah, I do have the weekly buff right now still, so 60 extra power and 60 extra knowledge is in there, but even without, that's looking pretty good. I will... I might actually want to reforge this. So, okay, so... yeah. Let me just double check what the base is. So the base is 20 stam. So I have almost 4 stats wasted on stam. Base mana also is 150, so almost 6 stats on mana. Yeah, let's do some reforging, why not? Okay, so what am I aiming for? So I want stam to be low, mana to be low. Anything else is really fine. I'm gonna lose knowledge here, but not care that much. Okay, so that's not really that low. That's not bad. Okay, so it's a bit more mana than I'd like, but this is literally the lowest possible stam roll I can get. Yeah, I'm gonna take that. That's pretty decent. Yeah, honestly, I got more knowledge and more power out of that. I lost some HP and stam. Who cares? Yeah, pretty happy. Pretty happy. That's an insane amount of power on one item, and that's just gold 1. Oh boy, it's gonna be fun when I get some gold 3 items in 30 years. Alright, I'm gonna try doing a respec here to higher level magic spark, because I think even at up 7 it might do as much or more damage as Master 7 Fireball. I could be wrong, but I want to try it out. On the sentries, that is. Obviously on the bosses, Fireball is gonna be better, but I want to try magic spark on the sentries and see how that works out. Magni Crud is not bad, honestly. I mean, it's not the best Magni out there, but it is a Magni, which is something you don't really see from Tit, so pretty happy to see that. Minute 42-second run. That is my fastest run so far. Not bad. Again, with weekly buffs, so... Okay, so I'm just going to record how this goes with testing Fireball versus Spark. Let's see, so Fireball was 3,000, Spark is less here. Okay. If it was Master 7, it would probably be more, but it is a bit less right now. But it is also a lot less mana. Now I do have the weekly combat buff right now, so I'm doing more damage than I normally would. This may not be viable without the weekly buff, but this feels like I'm still doing it in 2 rounds and using a lot less mana to do it, so it's interesting. Now if I use Fireball... Yeah, it's not... It's a bit of a difference. It's a noticeable difference, but it's not insane. It might not be a bad idea just to use Spark in certain situations where like my mana is much lower than my HP, and then if my HP is much lower than my mana, then it would make more sense to use Fireball, because you just kind of want the even amounts of HP and mana so that when you rest, you are you're not just like resting for one thing, right? I'm curious to see on the fire sentries though, because that's where I tested it initially and where I suspected I may get more value from Spark. So Fireball's like 4,000. No, it is less. Okay, okay. Yeah, it is actually a lot less. So I guess I do need Master 7 Spark if I want to do a Spark build. But like here, no reason not to use Spark, because my mana is lower and it was low HP. So I might keep having Spark available. I like the fact that I can use Spark if it makes sense to do so, but I don't think it's going to make sense to use Spark all the time here. Unless, again, if I spec'd Master 7 Spark, maybe. But then I'm not going to have Fireball, and then I'm going to struggle on the bosses, and being able to kill the bosses fast is still important to me now. I'm not so strong that I can just kill them with Spark and not care about losing that damage. I kind of need all the damage I can get. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't hate the spec, you know. I still have 3-round burning. My AoE is really bad. My fire shield is really bad. Could be a little annoying for some of the weekly tasks where you have to kill multiple opponents, or where you have to use fire shield to damage opponents. But I might stick with the spec and just see how it goes. I've also lost my pack skill, so I cannot use multiple pets with this. If I was to do, say, the Christmas event where I need a lot of meat shields, that would be a problem. But honestly, if I have to respec for the Christmas event, that's really not a problem at all. So yeah, I think I'll stick with this spec, keep playing around with V2. I'll be very interested to see how V2 goes when I don't have the weekly combat buff, because it is making me much stronger. But for now, I think I'm gonna call the video at this. I've got a lot of gains. Again, weekly combat buff affecting things here, but I got so many stats by taking this cape to gold 1 and then reforging it to get all the points out of stamina. You know, that was really, really nice. You know, there was... What else has happened in this video? Well, I talked about all the tit drops, and that was pretty time consuming, honestly. So yeah, I'm maybe this is going to be early, but I'm going to call the video here. I'm looking forward to how these 500 V2s go, because I've already dropped a Magni, and this is only so I started at 114 and now I'm at 145, so it's been 31 kills, already seen a Magni. I didn't see a single Magni in the 500 tit kills I did at the end, so I'm excited to see what else I get here. The runs are definitely slower than Tit. When I lose the weekly buff, it might be quite painful, but 500 runs isn't that bad. We'll see how it goes.